Hello, friends. Welcome back in the learning of macroeconomics. And today's topic in hand is consumption and capital goods. So let's begin. After completing the topic of final goods and intermediate goods, we are doing this consumption and capital goods. Why? Because final goods can be for consumption as well as for investment or capital formation. Right. It means, in a way, we are trying to go in detail of the final goods today. So, final goods can have two formats, consumption as well as capital goods. So, what is the basic difference between these two? Consumption goods are those goods which satisfy the human demands directly, whereas the capital goods are those things which satisfy the demands indirectly. A simple example. Say I cook food at home and I take it. So that food is satisfying my want directly. So that is a consumption good for me. But the gas cooktop and the utensils which help me create that and cook that food, these are indirectly satisfying my demand of cooking the food. So that is an investment for me because it's going to be repeated for a longer period of time and it's to be used repeatedly. So that becomes a capital good. And you must note the word capital good hardly comes in context of the households. We say consumer durable goods. I'll throw some light here on this aspect later when we are done with this topic. Let's begin. So, consumption goods are primarily categorized in four parts. First is durable, semi durable, non durable, and services. Now, all those consumption goods which have a longer duration of usage means they go beyond a period of 1 year or so. So the examples are TV, fridge, washing machine, or any sort of machines. We may have sewing machine or any other machine. So all these things would be under the durable consumer goods. When we talk about semi-durable, all those things which can be repeatedly used, but at the same time, that repetition doesn't go beyond a period of 1 year. Sometimes we are using it repeatedly and then they get worn out. In this series, the best example possible would be the crockery items. We have clothes, we have toys, as the best examples for semi-durable. Non-durable means the things which get consumed up. For example, the milk which is used up in making coffee or tea, the salt, the pepper used up in making cooking food. So all these things, the groceries, milk, sugar, right? The fuel you use for your scooters and cars, etc. So all these which have just one usage and they just get used up. There is, used up. It's a beautiful term which is used by the paper setters to confuse the students. Used up means which has got just one usage and it gets used up fully and finally done. Right. Services. So services also fall under the category of consumption goods. Services of cooks, the maids, the drivers. So any service which we are using, so these are consumption goods and these are final goods. When we talk about the capital goods, now capital goods, what are capital goods? Accountancy students would be able to define it well. Anything which helps in further production. So these facilitate the production. And this enhances the production capacity of any firm. The best example possible here is plant and building, land and building, plant and machinery. So, what is another feature? Every year we create some reserves for them because these do depreciate. It means we have some repairs and replacements, repairs, maintenance, replacements required to keep them up for their production capacity. So, that's there. And they also have a derived demand. So, when we say derived demand, a moment back I talked about food and the gas cooktop. So if and only if I need food, I would be in need of gas cooktop. So it means if food is demanded, then only the gas cooktop would be demanded. That's why we say these have derived demand or the indirect demand, and they can be used over a greater period of time. Means it's a repeated use for them, repeated usages, and the duration is longer. So these are the two categories of final goods: the consumption goods and capital goods. Now let's have one overview of the final versus intermediate good now that we are done with this topic also. So let's have the final goods as and the intermediate goods. In the previous video, we talked about the final goods and intermediate goods, but we know that final goods can be for consumption as well as for capital formation, right? So, some examples would make it clear how the things are categorized, whether it is final or it is intermediate, whether it is consumption final good or it's final good on account of the investment, capital formation or investment. So, the very first example in this case would be, say, wheat and rice. If the wheat and rice is used by households, so it becomes a final consumption good. But when this wheat and rice is used by some hotel or food industry, so this becomes the intermediate goods. Why? Because it's to be processed further and it is for reselling. Then, do we have any aspect when wheat and rice can be the capital formation? Yes, the unused stock. I did talk about this in the previous videos, that unused stock of anything, even if it is of a less amount or it's not a capital installation, but unused thing. It can be paper, it can be ink, it can be coal, anything, cloth, whatever industry you're working for, right? Unused things do get carried forward in the next year's accounts. So this becomes the investment for the organization, right? Then we have the other example you can take as, say, TV. So if TV is used by a household, it becomes a durable consumption good. So it's a final good. And if it is there with a dealer or distributor, so this becomes a intermediate good. So when would this TV be a final good but in a format of investment? Yeah, when it is there at some offices or some firms in your school. So these units have invested in TV. So this becomes an investment and hence a final good. If you talk about cars, right? So if you have car, a car used by households would be a consumption good. But if a car is there lying with some distributor, it becomes a intermediate good. Some malfunctioning again with my stylus. But when would we have car as the final good in terms of investment? When it is there with some travel agency. So this becomes a final good, but it's there with the firm in form of investment. I now feel like giving all the concepts taken together. Let's have a final outlook about the same. Many students do inquire that, ma'am, we have households. These are the two basic sectors. Yes, these are. And firms. So, do firms only go for the capital goods or the investment goods? Or do households only go for the consumption goods? Yes, majority this way, but no. Households also do have some sort of investments in form of consumer durable goods, right? And they have, otherwise, my point here to make it clear is investments and long duration goods, when are used by the households, are not called the capital goods, because we very often use the term capital in context of production capacity for selling as a producer. So as and when some investments are being talked about for households, we say these are consumer durable goods, for example, TV, fridge, and other consumption goods like groceries, milk, sugar. We say these are the consumption goods. Right. And now, something very important you must understand. When any firm buys plant and machinery, land and building, it's very much clear that this is the capital invested in the organization which would help in the production capacity. So it is investment, hence it is the final good, right? Do they buy the consumables? Yes, they do buy the consumption goods as well. And what are they? Consumption goods like inventories. And when these inventories get used up, they are not to be used repeatedly. They are to be sold. The cycle gets completed. So these are called intermediate consumption. So intermediate consumption means the inventories and other things which are required by the firm, which are not the asset, but they get used up like fuel, like other expenses, right? So in this category, I need to mention producer goods and single use producer goods. For some numericals, you would see this term being used. Single use producer goods are nothing but the intermediate consumption. Means we say all capital goods are producer goods, but all producer goods are not capital goods. Because for example, I'm giving you the example of nails, the wood, glue, or anything which is used in making a piece of furniture. So all these things unite to make one piece of furniture. They get used up. So these are single use producer goods. Hence, these are intermediate consumption for the organization. So all capital goods help in production, hence they are called producer goods. But all producer goods are not capital goods in nature. I hope you got the concepts clarified. With this, let's say bye. See ya in the next video.